Hi, I'm Joe Heyman, President and CEO of Lone Star Ag Credit. On behalf of our entire team across the state of Texas, we want to compliment you on your work. We want to commend you for all the effort that you've put in, and we want to congratulate you on this tremendous milestone. As a product of the Texas FFA, I also know what it's like to sacrifice as you have to be able to reach this milestone. But what we look so forward to are the impacts that you'll be making in the future. You've already touched a lot of people, and we look forward to all those that you're going to touch going forward. So on behalf of our entire team, we want to thank you for this opportunity to celebrate this success with you, and we look forward to the impact that you're going to make on life outside the city limits. Congratulations.
Well, hello, Texas FFA. This is Aaron Alejandro, and here we are with another segment in our webinar series, Leadership Skills. It's a leadership series, Growing Our Future. We've said all along that if you want to be the best, train with the best. If you want to be the best, go find the best people and train with them. Today's topic is called the 3-foot rule, professional networking. And we have a panel here of folks that have a track record of success in professional networking. During the annual convention, the foundation ambassadors, they go through some training. And one of the trainings that we share with them, one of the skill sets is called the 3-foot rule. Get to know people within 3 feet of you. Somebody asked me one time, they said, Aaron, where did the 3-foot rule come from? And I said, before I took the foundation job and I was doing some consulting, I worked for a company called ABB Control. And I'll never forget it. We were teaching them about the 3-foot rule. And this is to show you how old I am. This is back in the days where we didn't have cell phones and you had to use a phone bank in the hotels. So we took a break. This company, this international company, we took a break. And everybody went down the hallway and got in line to use the phones at the phone bank. And I'll never forget it, the CEO of ABB Control is standing in line. And he just came out of the workshop on the 3-foot rule and he said, I think I'll practice it. So he turned around, he started talking to the gentleman behind him and he asked him what he did. He was a rancher up here in North Texas. He then asked John Bridgman, he said, what do you do? He said, well, I'm the CEO of ABB Control. What's that? We put in control units for large buildings and factories and, people that have large scale operations. The rancher said, well, I'm working on a facility that I might be interested in that. Can you tell me more? Anyway, the conversation went on. After the break was over with, John Bridgman walked back in the room and looked at all of his employees and pointed to me and said, listen to what he said. He said, because I just practiced the 3-foot rule and just made a $350,000 sale. You never know what opportunity may exist just one conversation away. So today we have subject matter experts. We're going to talk about the 3-foot rule, but I'm going to allow each of them to introduce themselves. They all have ties to the FFA. They are all great examples of how you can excel in life. And with that, I'm going to start with Maci Eaves. Macy, will you introduce yourself to the Texas FFA?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Alejandro, and good morning, Texas FFA. I do have to tell you, it makes me a little bit sad that you guys aren't going to be able to gather together for the convention, but I know that the guys behind the scenes are going to make the virtual experience just as wonderful for you guys. So it is my honor to be here this morning. My name is Maci Eagle. I am married to my husband, Zach, and we live in Rockwall, Texas, so just 30 minutes east of Dallas. I hail from Area 4. Before the restructuring took place, and I had the great honor to serve as a member of the 2008-2009 Texas FFA State Officer Team. Currently, I am a RFX Circle Achiever for the #1 skincare brand in North America. I graduated from Texas A&M in 2012, and since then I've kind of moved all around the country, but landed here in Rockwall, and I'm very happy to be here this morning.
Thanks, Macy. We're so glad to see you and proud of everything that you've done. And most importantly, all the great things that are ahead. So with that, Courtney, would you tell us a little bit about you and your role at Priefert?
Absolutely, guys. It's nice to virtually be joining everybody on convention this year, doing it online. I think it's great that we've come up with ways to work around the situation that we were given to still accomplish our group goals. As far as my background, I grew up in Arkansas, originally from just south of Little Rock. I went to school at Southern Arkansas University, where I was heavily involved with our collegiate FFA program there. I went on to the University of Missouri and have a master's in reproductive physiology. So naturally, I took that and went into marketing. I actually started working for Priefert about 11 and a half, almost 12 years ago now. I started as the events coordinator in the department. They were willing to take a chance on putting a science kid into a marketing role. And it was all thanks to the topic we're going to discuss in a minute, professional networking, that helped me get that opportunity. And then I've been able to stay with the company, work my way up through the ranks, and I've been serving as director of marketing for Priefert since 2016.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us, and we appreciate all the support that the Prieferts have provided the Texas FFA members and our teachers. We really value that. Mathew Barnes, you've taken a job. You're now in West Texas, and you're creating quite a professional network yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what you do and how networking's working for you.
You bet, Aaron. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to join you guys today. I also am very impressed and very proud of the hard work and dedication that's went behind the scenes to continue to have something and have some tangible content, some professional development opportunities for FFA members that are disengaged, if you will, in being able to physically network in person this year at the convention. So kudos to you guys for all the hard work and all the effort that you put into making these things happen. My name is Mathew Barnes, originally from Alto, Texas, in the Area 9 Association. Served as 2008-2009 Texas FFA State President alongside Macy there. So several years ago. Graduated from Texas Tech in 2013 and currently work for Bayer Crop Science as a field sales representative for a large, about 1.5 million acres of cotton production in West Texas here, and also run some gain cattle, some wheat pasture calves on the side, kind of in my lack of spare time here. But yeah, super excited to join you guys today and talk about the opportunities that have been given to me through my professional networking, from everything from my cattle business, my cattle operation, to the job that I currently have today.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, members, now that we know everybody, you got again an expert panel here. So let's talk about this. So one of the things that we've shared throughout the series is at the end of the year, whenever y'all finish your high school experience, you're going to graduate. Now, you need to put this in perspective. You're going to graduate, but so is every other senior from every other high school in America, every other high school in Texas, every other university in the United States. When you graduate, you enter this world, you're either looking for a scholarship, you're looking for a job, you're looking for an opportunity, or you're looking for a career. At the end of the day, you've got to have a competitive edge, something that separates you from everybody else. And that responsibility is on you. No one's going to give you a competitive edge. You've got to seek that competitive edge. I believe that professional networking is one of the things that can give you that competitive edge. So with that, let's start with Macy. Macy, share with us how you utilize professional networking, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the examples of how students can professional network. How do they start professional networking? But I'm curious, Macy, how you use professional networking in your world.
Absolutely. That's a very good question. And you know what? I will credit the FFA and the 4-H to a lot of my ability to professional network, and a lot of the contacts that I've gained throughout my life, I credit to these two organizations. So I think that when you're in the FFA, you have an outstanding opportunity to meet so many people, whether it be your peers, whether it be ag teachers, whether it be corporate sponsors, whether it be there's so many different opportunities. And so I think when you're in these roles, you may not realize that, all of your peers, you guys are all going to graduate, as Mr. Alejandro said, together. You're all going to graduate together, and all of your peers are going to go on to do these amazing things and be in corporate roles all across America, as will you, hopefully. And so you've met all of these people who are right now just your same age, and you may not realize that, again, you are all going to go on to do great things. And so you have this huge list of people in your circle, and nowadays I think it's so amazing with the opportunities of social media. So whether you may not see these people every day, but you're still going to have these contacts. So I just think for me it's all about and you don't have to look at it as how will they help me, but you know what, the roles may be turned and maybe someday you can help them. So I think that that's so important to really take advantage of the time and the season that you're in now. And then when you go on to college, you're going to have a whole new aspect of people and people that you're going to get to meet and network with. And so for me, I'll just be real honest. In college, it served me well. It was I was provided an amazing job as a college student because of someone that I had met through showing cattle. I obviously put in the work and did all of that, but I took it upon myself to get to know them, to be a good student, to make sure that I showed up. I sat close to the front. You have to do some things to set yourself apart. And then after that, going on to college, I had 3 amazing jobs before the opportunity I'm in now, all of which came from people that I had met and continue to stay in contact with. And for that, I'm forever grateful, just for the opportunities that I've been provided. So I think that if you continue to build relationships, that would be my most important piece of advice for you, to build relationships with the people that you've been given, and to continue to meet new people. I think it'll serve you well, and not just the few years to come, but many, many, many years to come.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, you've done well, and we're going to talk about those skills here in just a second. So obviously, you're an example of what happens with the network, and you've capitalized on the fact that. And by the way, there's something here about networks that we better talk about, because all of you have alluded to it. You got to have a little hustle in that network. You've got to have a little want to. Nobody's just going to come and give it to you. You've got to be willing to reach out there and develop those networks. And Macy, you've articulated that well. Courtney, tell us a little bit about how you utilize networking and how networking has helped you at Priefert.
Absolutely. So networking is really key to me being successful in my role for the company, which then translates to Priefert being successful in the marketplace. So director of marketing, pretty much everything I do every day is networking. Yes, there are the aspects of building marketing materials, signs, literature, videos, things like that. But once it comes to getting those things out to the market, you're networking, whether it's with a sponsor like Mr. Alejandro, who gave me this opportunity to speak to you guys, whether it's with an athlete that we use as one of our endorsees who gives testimonials about our product. It could be with a customer. That's where a lot of our networking is with our actual customer base across a variety of different industries, from the cattle industry to the equine industry to even rodeo. I get the unique opportunity to represent the company and the family of Priefert, their brand and what they stand for, at a lot of industry events. So those are great opportunities to meet other people that are involved and have the same interests and sometimes the same goals that we do, whether that's working a booth at the National Finals Rodeo, it could be at the Cattlemen's Convention, it could be at an FFA convention, where we're meeting like-minded people that help us generate great ideas, that help us figure out the best way to go to market with a product. Maybe it's something that we have a mutual interest in and we work on a project together to develop a completely new idea that stems from a conversation we had over the dinner table, going out after a show closed for the day. So professional networking is really key to every aspect of my job. And as I alluded to earlier with my introduction, it's how I ended up in this job. As you guys heard, I have a background in science, not ag business or marketing. So how did I end up in a marketing role? Well, in undergrad at college, I worked for our ag department. I had a job in the office there, so I made sure to build a good relationship with all of our ag professors and specifically the chair of our department that I reported to. So I went on to grad school, had full intention of going into research and working in a lab full time, but realized at some point when I was pretty far down that road, I had just finished my master's, was working on a PhD, that really wasn't what I wanted to do every day. I had removed myself from the people of our industry that I love so much and was spending all my time isolated in a lab. So I reached out to that professional contact and Dr. Tollett and said, "Hey doc, I've messed up, what do I do?" And he's the one that suggested I go into sales and marketing. And I said, well, I don't even know how to break into that. My resume is not going to look appealing to that industry. But he used one of his professional connections in Bill Priefert, which got me the interview. And yes, I had to show up and I had to be professional and I had to not bomb that interview. He didn't get me the job just by recommendation, but I promised you that went a long way to them making a hiring decision on somebody that on paper maybe didn't fit all the criteria that they were looking for in a marketing role. But you add that in with the interview skills that I'd learned through college and a great recommendation from someone in Bill's professional network that he trusted. And that's how I ended up here in the first place. So professional networking is something I'm very passionate about because it's really key to where I am today and what I do every day.
So would it be fair to say that professional networking, if done correctly, might just open up an opportunity?
Absolutely fair to say that. It opens up amazing opportunities if you're open to do it. And like you said, if you're willing to put in the work and maintain those connections. Like Macy said, you've got great connections right now that are going to grow into things that are even greater in the future. But it's on you to keep in contact with those people so that when they reach those great things, you're still someone that they're connected with.
Real quick, Mathew, before I get to your response, I want to share that during the annual convention, the foundation ambassadors, they play a critical role in taking care of our sponsors. But I never will forget, Andy Christensen was our first ambassador coordinator, and I will never forget what he shared as when he became the coordinator. He said, when I was a freshman in FFA, he goes, when I went to convention, he goes, I went through all the booths to collect pins. That's what I wanted to do. He goes, I went through all the booths to collect pins. He goes, but once I figured out what the ambassador program was and the importance of professional networks, he said, now I've learned to collect contacts. And I always thought that was a brilliant statement of collecting contacts because you never know when you're going to be able to utilize a contact for an opportunity. Mathew, you've got to use professional networking out there in West Texas. I mean, you've got a lot of ground to cover. An incredible product to sell. So tell us, how do you use professional networking out there?
Absolutely, Aaron. Yeah, it's it's helped me get off the side of the road sometimes when I run out of diesel because it's half a day between towns out here most of the time. But at the basis of what I do every day, networking, both personally and professionally, is probably the catalyst to being able to do my job in agriculture. And that's one of the things I love the most about the industry that I work in and the industry that I've been so passionate about my entire life is that everything that we do is tied to each other. Whether it's fertilizer, whether it's seed, whether it's chemistry, whether it's irrigation equipment, whether it's transportation or tractors or whatever industry segment that we're in out here, everything's tied together. Everybody knows somebody who knows somebody else that's tied in, and it's absolutely critical to continue to maintain that professional network and maintain those contacts and keep in contacts and be seen and be a part of the community and be involved in what you're doing and show people the passion that you have. And I think that's probably been the biggest help for me in my networking and in my development over the course of me from the time I was a state officer until now, is allowing people to see that passion and allowing people to see that commitment to agriculture. I have a lot of conversations with friends and young people that are getting out of school and looking for internships and everything else. And something that I could say that I've probably heard you say time and time before is that your character's never off. And it's going to shine through, regardless of whether you're standing around in the blue jacket at convention, joking with your friends, or may or may not be in front of a sponsor or a business person or an ag teacher or somebody that you weren't aware was even listening or watching what you were doing and how you were handling yourself and how you were conducting yourself, and the good thing about that is that sometimes grants people the opportunity to see things about you and to learn about you and to, help build that network when you don't know anybody's looking. And the best thing I would say about young people right now getting a jump on that professional network is it's allowing them the opportunity to gain some wisdom and mentorship and develop themselves with a network of mentors, whether it's their ag teacher or corporate sponsor or a friend or somebody through a competition or a CDE/LDE livestock show like Macy was talking about, or whatever, that's going to give them an opportunity down the road. That's been the case for me since I graduated high school, whether it was interning at Priefert and getting to know Courtney and calling her boss at one time, to the job that I'm in now through internships with Monsanto before the Dyer acquisition, or anything basically that I've done out here in agriculture. It's also allowed me the opportunity through those relationships with my farmers and with other ranchers out here in this part of the world to be able to start building my own cattle operation and doing my own thing, because people knew who I was and what I stood for and what I believed in through that network that I've developed in agriculture. And all that started in a blue corduroy jacket.
Good. All right, we're going to jump into the next round of questions. I'm going to kind of tee it up here with some thoughts. So this round, I want to get into specifics. What are some specific skills that you can share with students and teachers on professional networking, how to professional networking? I'll get some started here to stimulate some thoughts. One of the things that I use is Google Alerts. So I have every one of our board members and every one of our corporate sponsors set up under Google Alerts. So you go to Google Alerts and you use parentheses. And by the way, I would encourage you to set yourself up under Google Alerts, because you want to find out if anybody's ever using your name or if your image or what something about you is being used somewhere that you might not be aware of. But I always use Google Alerts on all of my board members and all of my sponsors. Here's how it works. Every day at 5 o'clock, if any of those folks have been in the news, I get a Google alert that says they were in the news. So what do? I copy and paste that URL in an email to Eddie Priefert, and I said, hey, Eddie, I saw where Priefert did this. And Eddie's like, wow, man, that's great. Aaron's paying attention to what I'm doing. Well, yeah, I'm paying attention to what he's doing, but I'm using technology to help bring information to me. So I'm a big believer in utilization of Google Alerts. The other thing is Macy, and several of you mentioned it earlier, Mathew, Courtney, be available. Make yourself available. If somebody needs something, try to be accommodating, just like this panel. They were accommodating to come on and share their wisdom with members and teachers. I appreciate that. The other thing is be consistent. Consistency creates credibility. If you want to be a professional networker, be consistent. It does not mean we're not going to have hiccups in life. We're all going to have hiccups. But the key is, can you be consistent over time? And if you can, consistency creates credibility. Marcus Hill was one of my early mentors, and he used to always say, have 10 friends older than you and 10 friends younger than you. The 10 friends older than you are going to tell you where we've been. 10 friends younger are going to tell you where we're headed. And the last one that I'll throw out is be creative in how you introduce yourself to people. Do it in a way where people remember you. The example that I use is my wife and I went to Wayne Goldberg's house. He lives in a beautiful home in the South Lake community, and we went to a Christmas party. And my wife and I, we don't frequent that area very often, so it was a real treat for us to go to this beautiful home with folks that we would normally not associate with. When we got inside, they took our coats, they showed us where the food was, we went and gathered our food, we went and sat down with another couple. And here's how the conversation went. How do y'all know the Goldbergs? And I said, well, I work with Mr. Goldberg on a youth organization. Well, tell me about it. I said, well, we teach responsibility, we teach self-confidence, we use a lot of STEM and application, and our kids have access to $2.3 million in scholarship. The lady goes, well, that sounds like an incredible organization, tell me more. And I began to tell her more. Finally, she just couldn't stand it any longer, and she said, what is the name of this organization? And I said, it's the Texas FFA. You may know it as Future Farmers of America. And the look on her face was priceless. She said, what does Wayne Goldberg have to do with that? But the point was, by being unique in the approach, We drew that person in, found out that they're an international freight company. They fly freight around the world out of Alliance Airport. We now have another professional contact. It all started by being creative in the way that we introduce ourselves. All right, I've thrown out some tips. Now I'd love to hear y'all share some tips. So Macy, we'll start with you. If you were looking at an FFA member right now and you wanted to share a tip or two for them on professional networking, what would it be?
I love how I always get to go first on the hard questions. So, you've given these examples and really two things really come to mind for me on skills, if you will. For one, I think that if you've participated in any at all FFA contests throughout your 4 years or more in the FFA, it's a very similar concept, right? So in these, specifically, I'll speak of the speaking contest where I love to serve as a judge from time to time, but it's the same things. It's the, do you make eye contact? Do you shake their hands when you come in? Do you sound like you're a person and not a robot? So it's some of those things that we're taught that you just continue to work on, right? I know that in speaking, it's easy to kind of sound like a robot. I was told that on a critique sheet or two, doing the creed in my time in the FFA. But even more than that, I think that one thing that really comes to mind for me is to be authentically you. And what I mean by that is, so the opportunity that I'm in now, I gained that contact from, I was on a board for the State Fair of Texas, where we raised money for the livestock kids that sold their animals at the auction. And that's something that I'm passionate about because I sold an animal at a livestock show many, many years. And if it weren't for people like me or people that are helping to raise that money, there would be no auction, right? So these people are doing things to help you. But I know that someone helped me for many years. So that's something that I'm passionate about. And therefore, it's an opportunity to meet people. Another example goes back to college. I gained, thankfully, many scholarships from the FFA that I took very seriously, and that I wanted to maintain my grades, and I wanted to do all of the things that were required of me when I accepted this scholarship. So I mentioned it before, but sitting closer to the front of the classroom, not skipping school. I know that all of these things sound a little bit odd, but in college, those are things that you can easily get away with. And if you choose to be different and not do those things, then you will be noticed. You will be recognized. So do the things that are important to you and really start to work on the things that you've been taught over the years, and just to continue to develop those and to really be an expert at. And then again, being authentic. Getting to know people. I love to get to know people. I love to know about them. So asking the questions, the 3-foot rule that we've talked about, asking the questions, where are you from? What's your background? What do you do for work? Asking all of those things and being authentic as a person, in my opinion, is a skill that we may not think of often, but it is definitely a skill that can take you far.
Wow. Very good. Very good. Courtney, what skills would you share with Texas FFA members to professionally network?
Well, I have 3 things that come to mind. And Macy, I give you all the credit because I actually have written down on my note in front of me, be authentically you. I can't stress that enough to follow up to what Macy said. These connections, these professional networking connections that we make only really matter and only really work if they're a real connection. So to make a real connection, that person has to connect with you. You may be connecting, over work stuff. For me, for Priefert, maybe we're talking about ranch equipment, but the connection may have started talking about Major League Baseball, right? I'm a huge Major League Baseball fan. I hear people talking about it. That gives me an opportunity to join a conversation. And then at some point we may find out, hey, you've got cattle. Hey, we sell cattle equipment. That's great. There's an opportunity there. But being authentically you and sharing a little bit of yourself beyond just your professional goals, a little bit of your personality helps you grow those professional networks to be much stronger, that are going to serve you well, both in the office and, like Mathew said, out of the office. Sometimes you're broken down on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, and it may be one of those professional contacts that helps get you off the side of the road. Much like Aaron with the Google alerts, I do have a cheat that I'm going to share with you. I will confess, I'm terrible with names. That's not good in professional marketing. It's very not good if you're the director of marketing for a major company like me. So I have to come up with ways to make that work. What I do remember is where people work or where we met. Now, why I can remember that, not a name, I don't know. That's my own personal curse. But what do I do with that? I know that's how my brain works. So when I put somebody's contact in my phone or in my email, you've got all sorts of fields of information you can fill out there, including a notes section. So while I may not be able to look up a person's name, if I see someone across the room and I'm like, hey, that guy's with the Texas FFA Foundation, I can search FFA, and then right there in front of me, I have the name, and I almost always take notes about family, where we met, if there were common interests, because when you get a professional network that's extremely large, and some of these people you see regularly and others you only see occasionally, it helps to have those little reminders to kind of get you back into that, oh yeah, that's what we were talking about moment, so that you go right back into that relationship as if there's not been a moment passed. In some cases, there may have been years past, but having those little notes is really critical to helping you make sure you know who you're talking to and you have something to go in with to start that conversation. And then the last thing that I would offer is listen. You know, we've talked about how to get that conversation started. You have to be able to speak, you have to be willing to approach somebody, and you have to ask questions. But there's a second part that goes with asking a question, and that's really listening to the answer. So once you get a conversation going, if you can find ways to listen more than you talk, you're going to have a lot more notes to put in your Rolodex, and that's going to help you find those commonalities where you can find ways to share something that's authentically you and make a real connection with the person.
All I can say is, wow, this is apples of gold. So I hope members and teachers are listening and taking good notes, because I'm telling you, this is expert content, and it's not just their opinions. Look at their success. I mean, this is examples of what works. Mathew, excuse me. Go ahead, Mathew.
Yeah, you bet. I'm gonna kind of echo some things that Macy and Courtney said right here, because there were things that I had written down from the start that I really wanted to share, and that I've got a couple things that I'm gonna kind of issue some timeless wisdom that I was given. I'll just kind of back Courtney and Macy both up right here on what they said about being sincerely you and being, you know, what I spoke about character earlier. You know, one of the main things that I had wrote down that I was going to just a little post-it note that I was going to talk about today was how sincerity can't be faked. I've had conversations with lots of interns, lots of trainees at work about that. You can't hide genuine, and you can't hide passion. And if you're genuine and passionate about what you're doing and about what you're trying to do, whether it's your career, whether it's agriculture, whether it's livestock, whether it's a contest that you're participating in, anything, people can see that. And people can see that from a LDE, CDE contest, from a creed speaking event, or to a job interview. And I see it all the time. And that's one of those things that you can sniff out instantly, whether or not somebody's really passionate and really genuine about what they're doing. So be you, be genuine. Follow your path, you know, follow the direction that your heart's leading you to the industry and the job and the career that you love and you're passionate about. I'm not going to say that no days will ever feel like work, because work is work and there's a reason they pay you for it. But if you're passionate about what you're doing and you're sincere about what you're doing, there's reward in that work, and there's value in that sweat equity that you put into something. Two things that I'm going to say that are kind of timeless wisdom that always have stuck with me. And one of those is that you can't soar like an eagle if you run around with a bunch of turkeys. I can't stress that enough, guys. Successful people want other people to be successful, and successful people put other successful people around them. Who you hang out with, who you are, who your friends are, is going to become who you become in the future as a person, as a leader, as a mentor, as an employee, as a manager, etc. The most important thing people that want to be successful can do is put other successful people around them. And another thing, the good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, just like Courtney says. A lot of times, listening is a lot more important than talking. And it's good to have communication skills. It's good to be outgoing. It's good to tell people about yourself, be willing to introduce yourself. But it's also good to ask a lot of questions and listen to a lot of answers and gain knowledge and wisdom, and use this time that you're around people, or you have the opportunity to build this professional network, or build this development, or talk to a sponsor, or talk to a mentor, or talk to an ag teacher from another chapter, or whatever it is, to learn something and to learn some wisdom and to take some notes in your phone. I do the same thing that Courtney does. I have on the company line or on the little notes page, I'll jot down a few little notes about where I met them or what company it was. And a lot of times if I can't remember somebody's name, I search by the same thing like she does, with the company name, or, hey, I know this person works for John Deere. I'm going to type in John Deere and it's going to come up on here. I know this person works for Nutrien and it's going to come up. So great tips, great little tricks to kind of help promote that. But the biggest takeaway that I would have for any young person listening is to put yourself around successful people and soar with the eagles.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you for sharing a little bit of your time, talent, and treasures. One of the things that we didn't really talk a lot about, but I do want to throw it out, is social media has given us a platform to connect with people, and in various formats. Facebook is obviously by far on top of the heap, but there are so many more. Instagram, Twitter. In the professional world, you've got LinkedIn. I would say to utilize social media, but as I've always tried to coach students and folks, live your brand. If I go look at anybody's social media account, I ought to be able to tell that you're an expert in 3 areas. Based on what you like, share, post, and comment on, I ought to know what you're an expert in. I'd like to think that my brand is agriculture, youth, and leadership. Those are the things that I'm passionate about. Those are the things that I share along with my core values, which is my family and the outdoors and the things that I enjoy. But social media is a great way to expand your network, to make professional connections. But like Courtney said, you can't just have them, you've got to work at them. So pay attention to what they say, engage at times with questions and likes and shares, and it'll go a long way in helping you build your professional network. So again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I'm going to put us back here on gallery view so we can all see our smiling faces together. And if y'all will, let's all wave goodbye to the Texas FFA members for today. We'll see everybody down the road. And if y'all will hang on a second, we'll do a quick debrief. So thank you so much. Appreciate you. You knocked it out of the park as I suspected that you would. Thank you so much.
Are you looking for an easy and profitable way to fundraise? At Bloom, we believe in the power of giving back, which is why we partnered with Texas FFA to offer you 80% back on each one of your fundraisers. No matter how big or small your FFA chapter, we are here for you.
We are White Oak FFA, and we accepted the Bloom Chapter Challenge!
1, 2, 3 weeks.
50 members!
591 cards!
$137 profit. We accepted the challenge. Now the ball's in your court.
Join us in the challenge to make your chapter as profitable as possible, because just like you, we believe in the future of agriculture.
Hey, Texas FFA members, be sure to tune in for the 92nd Annual Texas FFA Convention. Strive for greatness. Strive to be great. We know you are. Hey, while you're at convention, be sure to check out the Foundation's virtual scavenger hunt. We're going to be giving away a $1,000 award scholarship every day from the students who get all of the scavenger hunt questions correct. So be sure to take a chance. Go to mytexasffa.org. Good luck.